I was being driven over the New Jersey Turnpike one April evening in 1997 with my friend Michael Barker, known to all three regular viewers of this show as Joker, and he commented on some of the apartments at the side of the road and said they reminded him of Torquay. Well, whether they did or not is not the point. The point is more that things can be very far away but feel very near, and relatively near and feel very far away, and Matlock is one of the latter for me. It's an hour and a half's drive from Wolverhampton, but there are no points of reference for me. It's strange because although it's got all of those Arkwright associations, another cradle of the Industrial Revolution, and the 1780s, the 1790s, and all of that is redolent here, it feels utterly unlike where I'm from. The stone, the angle of the buildings, the dense growth of trees on embankments and hillsides. There's a sort of alpine feel. I think Byron christened it Little Switzerland, and there's towers and spirelets and turrets and chateau-style roofs abundant as you look in the accumulating vistas that climb the hill. And for me, there are elements of North Wales, elements of perhaps Yorkshire, but it's more reminiscent of itself than anywhere else, of Buxton and of the Peak District itself. It suffers, Matlock town, in comparison to its more famous neighbour Matlock Bath, but it shouldn't do. It's quite a place, as these columns behind us testify. They make me feel like John Fox on the inside sleeve of The Garden. I could, of course, say in a trite and predictable early comings your way style that almost everything does, but it doesn't really. Almost everything these days makes me feel like Henry Fonda in On Golden Pond. Ryber Castle glowering over the town. I've just appropriated glower as a verb in that sense, like a crouched up spider. It's made of gritstone and was built in 1862 by John Smedley. It's known locally as Smedley's Folly. His wife lived in it until her death. It's had a heck of a history and sets me a-thinking, as you'll hear. It after her death became a boys' preparatory school. It was used by the Ministry of Defence for food storage. It was a small wildlife park, I think, up to the early 2000s. And they set free some lynxes in the local area. I don't know whether any of those are still sort of sloping or hanging around in the local area. And it was, it may be familiar to you from Dead Man's Shoes, Shane Meadows' melancholic Derbyshire piece. And it was, as I said, a preparatory school in the 30s. I've not checked my facts recently, but it had John Summerson, the notable architectural historian, as one of its boys, and he described it as a piece of indecipherable bastardry, okay, and a true monster, I think. What an epithet. It'd be a good thing to have on your tombstone, if indeed you have a tomb and not just a domestic grave. but it seems to me wrong as well, because it isn't indecipherable. I suppose he meant that it was illegitimate and that he couldn't see from whence it sprung in terms of its architectural lineage, because he was a bit of a purist, a bit of a funny fella. Was very much in the thrall to a lot of great Greek classical and neoclassical architecture. But I think he was wrong, because architecture, like all art, is associative, and I know those associations fall off with time, but some of them last longer than you'd think. You know, read any Shakespeare and some of those associations have clung to the meaning along with the meanings themselves. And for me, it's an absolute ripper of a building. The setting alone guarantees its place, and I like its bald, granity unpleasantness. I like its glowering, its hunched up quality. And as I say, buildings or works of art cloak themselves with our own personal associations, and that's becoming more of a thing, isn't it? Because we are increasingly encased in our own mythology via television and the media. The idea of something being hauntologically referenced is a recent phenomenon, and as I say, even those shards of meaning, as they fall off and transmute into other ones, they don't negate how I feel about the building. So elitism, purism, neoclassicism aside, I love it.
Piece of indecipherable bastardry, you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's actually uncanny that you've mentioned that, because we had somebody write in a few weeks ago calling one of our films a piece of indecipherable bastardry.
I think I can imagine which one it is.
Yeah?
Yeah, I felt it at the time. The wishing well that I mentioned in our Worksworth film, the one that I wished over back in 1995 with such intense fervour. I remember very well, no pun intended, the fervour with which I wished. What I don't remember is what I wished for, which is a bit unfortunate, because it could have come true 1,000 times over and I wouldn't even know. I wonder what it was. 1995. It was probably something lamentable, like finding in a charity shop that exact yellow and orange matching shirt and tie combo that Jarvis Cocker's wearing on the front of Select in July that year. What would you have wished for, Harris, back in 1995?
95?
How old were you?
22 I turned in
okay.
95. It could have been a number of things.
Yeah.
Could have been about travels that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Being a travel writer,
Yeah.
something like that. Could have been a relationship thing.
Yeah.
I think, though, the most likely thing that it would have been to be part of a staggeringly unsuccessful internet travel series on YouTube in 1995. Having anticipated the advent of YouTube, I really wanted to be part of an unsuccessful set of travel films.
There's still time.
There is, isn't there?
They don't have these near the car parks round our way, or if there was one at Stourbridge multi-storey before it was demolished, I missed it. I came across a picture of Matlock Bath from here in a magazine a couple of years ago, and my heart leapt momentarily. It was as though my heart formed the words, I want to go there, I want to be there, before my brain had the time to catch up. And then I realised, oh, it's Matlock Bath, I have been there. It was a strange sensation. I thought it was somewhere much further afield, much more exotic in inverted commas. It was a bit like finding out the woman you were secretly in love with was actually your wife all along. This is turning into Babushka by Kate Bush, isn't it? You can picture me in the outfit from the video, can't you? Can't you? Erasmus Darwin recommended this place to his friend Josiah Wedgwood. I don't know who recommended it to me. Someone must have told me, because I've been coming here for the last few years to the illuminations. I stand round about here amidst the glow sticks and smell of cap smoke, so redolent of that time of year, and bathed in that orange glow, waiting for the illuminations to begin. They've been going since 1897. They started to commemorate Victoria's Diamond Jubilee. She'd come here as a princess and remembered the experience, and they're lovely. They're my favourite illuminations, particularly now that Walsall are defunct, and they are not just provincial, they are bespoke and non-commercial. They consist of a series of little boats, themed boats. There'll be a TARDIS, there'll be a DeLorean, and as I say, they are individual, they are idiosyncratic, they are low-key, they are nonetheless lovely. It's not quite like anywhere else, Matlock Bath. It shrugs off its associations. You might be reminded momentarily of Iron Bridge, anywhere from your personal pantheon of place, but it's indelibly Derbyshire, indelibly itself. It is of the East Midlands and not the West Midlands. I remember the first time I heard of it. You don't always remember the first time you hear mention of a place, but I do with this place. It was probably 88. It was that period whereby I'd been left behind. My friends had gone off to go to university, be pop stars, whatever else, and I was sat in the Star and Garter of a Tuesday evening, disconsolately drinking. And I remember my mate Jim, who'd gone away to Nottingham University, telling me of this bizarre inland seaside resort, and I struggled to picture it. But the first time I came to it, I saw exactly what he meant, and I also encountered the thing. Now here's the thing. Here is the thing. The thing isn't there anymore. I think it was outside the aquarium over there, although I can't prove it. I spent quite a lot of time in the garden yesterday going through an old suitcase full of photos, trying to find photographic proof of its existence. But there's nothing there, nothing on the internet. It was a metal box, about so big, mounted on a black metal pole, and in green horror writing, the kind you saw on B-movies of the 50s, it said, "See the thing appear." And you used to put 50p into a slot at the top, and a very small, incredibly underwhelming ocean scene would be lit up from behind. It was small, plastic, as I say, extremely unimpressive, and some bubbly, aqueous music would begin, and you would wait for your 50p to bear fruit. And just as you thought nothing was going to happen, nothing did. From underneath a small plastic clam, very small, tired-looking green plastic head just about bothered to appear and disappear. That much appearing and disappearing. And then it was over. What a thing the thing was. Emblematic of all that I hold dear.
Small, plastic and underwhelming, you say?
I guess I asked for that.
It's uncanny that you used that particular rule of three, because somebody wrote in just a few weeks ago, calling one of your performances small, plastic and underwhelming.
Indecipherable bastardry.
Yes.
That's what that is.
Yes, it is.
Right, these cable cars are fully booked today, which is a shame. On the other hand, I've always been a bit wary of them since my mother told me about a boy getting injured on one, the ones they used to have at Dudley Zoo. But no, it is a shame, because me and Harris had talked about recreating that moment in Moonraker when Roger Moore and Richard Keel fight in and out of it, which could have been really quite spectacular, couldn't it? But I think we can still do some kind of conciliatory pay-on to Bond, some homage. What do you think?
I think so, definitely.
Okay.
I think me and my mate Andy used to do a thing where we were coming up with all the excuses that the Roger Moore Bond might make for not being bothered to go to work that day.
Okay.
So yeah, should we do that?
Yeah, okay, you're going to have to start, because
Okay.
you're obviously an old hand at this.
I'm sorry, Q. I can't go to work today. I'm afraid I picked up a spot of the old Deli Belly at the Rio Carnival last night, and well, you should see the state of the porcelain in my hotel room. Sorry.
Q, Bond here. I'm afraid I've trapped myself in the porch again. I was on my way out to Wolverhampton last night to see my friend in Park Village, and I didn't realise that my wife had taken the keys, so I've been on display to the neighbours for a couple of hours now. I phoned the local fire brigade, but they said 250 quid, so forget that. But she'll be home soon. Oh, wait a minute, my wife's dead, isn't she? She died at the end of On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Telly Savalas killed a 007.
You're quite right. I'm terribly out of sorts.
I'm sorry, Q, but the hotel here that you put me up on Her Majesty's expenses hasn't returned my laundry again, and I simply cannot work under these conditions. I'm not going to work today. Sorry.
I'm sorry, Q, but I've just ordered a vegan sausage roll from Greg's in Walsall, and they've said that they haven't got any at the moment, so they're just waiting for a new batch. But the lady didn't want to disappoint me, so I'm just standing around by the marketplace waiting for the sausage rolls to cook. I'll probably have 2 or 3. See you later, Q.
Q, I'm afraid all of these